Good morning. It's 8:38, Finger Lakes Morning News. It's time for Scholastically Speaking with FLCC, and we're joined by Jonathan Weissman, Associate Professor of Computing Sciences, to talk about a couple of really cool new degree programs. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Before we get into these degrees, it's a very uncertain academic season starting up for a lot of colleges, and here's FLCC. You've been building toward this for years. A high percentage of classes were already online, and so FLCC kind of were out front leading before you even knew it.
Absolutely. In fact, just recently we've turned the entire networking and cybersecurity degree into the HiFlex modality, which means when I'm teaching in the Victor Campus Center and I'm lecturing and I'm demoing the networking and cybersecurity labs, students can be watching it live through WebEx across the country and taking it through SUNY Online, and students can also get a recording of the class upon completion. So you don't need to necessarily physically be in our classroom, and this was well before the pandemic.
We heard the news earlier this week that applications are way up this year at FLCC, and do you think a lot of people are saying, look, let's go with a place that's been doing this and knows how to do it and at a lower price? You think more people are looking at doing their first 2 years at a community college before going to a four-year school?
Absolutely. With the crazy situation with the world right now and a lot of colleges pivoting to the online modality, at a community college, you will get the same or better education than a four-year institution at a fraction of the price, and the courses transfer very nicely. So you can save a heck of a lot of money and still not get off track with your education, stay online with your education, stay on track with your education, and continue in a smooth way.
So this new course, as you said, is being offered out of the Victor Campus Center, but it's obviously available to anybody with an internet connection anywhere in the world. So tell us about the AAS degree in networking and cybersecurity.
Well, we've actually made it an official degree by itself as of 2018. For years, it was sort of buried as a concentration area in our IT degree, but now it stands alone by itself. And in this program, students are going to get tons of hands-on, real-world experience analyzing networking traffic, protocols. They'll be configuring routers, switches. They'll be actually establishing LANs, local area networks, and WANs, wide area networks. They're going to configure servers for DNS, domain name system, DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. They're going to work with Active Directory, file sharing. They're actually going to hack into systems and networks and perform attacks to steal and crack passwords in a legal fashion. And the reason why we teach them that, of course, is because, number one, you can't defend against the bad guys unless you know exactly what they're doing. And number two, you can make an actual career of it. No, not the type of career that will send you to jail for a long period of time, but the type of career where you find and exploit vulnerabilities from companies. They pay you to do that. You can make recommendations on how to remediate these vulnerabilities, and now the bad guys who know and do exactly what you do, they can't get through. The program also includes digital forensics courses where we actually reconstruct cyber attacks, and we can either inculpate or exculpate a suspect, and we use cutting-edge tools and technologies like PowerShell and the Linux Bash shell to perform administrative and cybersecurity tasks.
What I find interesting about this is even before you get into the security part, just the simple networking part itself is valuable. I mean, what's the first thing that happens when you get two computers? Somebody says, okay, how do we make them talk to each other?
Absolutely. Communication and sharing of resources and sharing information, obviously that's like oxygen today between computers and systems. But it got to the point around the early part of the 2000s where you just could not talk networking without talking cybersecurity. Cyber attacks and cybersecurity became a thing in the early part of the 2000s. So now it goes hand in hand. You can't do networking without the complementary piece of cybersecurity.
And if all that isn't cool enough, anyone who gets this new degree is guaranteed admission to SUNY Empire State for their Security Studies bachelor's degree program.
It's a phenomenal agreement that we recently signed with Empire State. What's also very nice is that both degrees can be completed 100% online. And our students will transfer all of their credits into the Empire State program. In fact, Empire State allows a transfer of up to 79 credits. Our program is 64 credits, which means a student can actually take additional FLCC courses at the lower community college rate before transferring.
It's interesting, you were talking earlier about learning from the bad guys, from the hackers themselves, and actually those were the first security experts, really, right? Were hackers that crossed over from the dark side and said, okay, let us help you fend off these other hackers.
Absolutely. The government is, in some cases, reforming these hackers and hiring them for governmental positions because, as bad as they are, as bad as they were, they know their craft. And right now there is a humongous need for networking and cybersecurity specialists. There are over 1 million unfilled jobs around the world, about 300,000 in the United States, and they expect those totals to rise exponentially. This is really a 0% unemployment field. In fact, you could say it's negative unemployment because there's so many jobs that are just simply unfilled right now, and that's what we're training our students to do.
Our radio station group is probably a pretty typical small business. We've got, 20 or 25 computers all networked together. What are some of the mistakes that small businesses make in setting up their networks or holes that they leave open and leave themselves vulnerable to?
Well, leaving default settings, leaving default passwords, not really implementing security at the ground level. Reusing passwords. One of the biggest vectors that attackers use to break into systems and networks is the fact that they can send an email to some user in a company, whether it's through phishing or spear phishing or whaling, different types of email that are sent, and all the insider has to do is to click a link in the email or download an attachment, and every single implementation of cybersecurity, whether it's from the hardware side or the software side, completely undone. So besides leaving default, they have to really educate the users on what to do and what not to do. Obviously, we do that at Finger Lakes Community College.
Is it true that most people, for their routers, their username is admin and their password is password?
It is, unfortunately, and their passwords are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And all you need to do as a black hat evil hacker or a white hat penetration tester is to find these systems. We teach the students how to scan. Of course, everything that the students do is within 100% of the law. We do all these labs in controlled environments at Victor Campus Center. But all a hacker needs to do, a cyber criminal needs to do, is to actually find the systems and test out default usernames and passwords. There are websites out there that actually find webcams that have been left with default usernames and passwords. They scan the Internet. They probe the Internet for these webcams that are connected to industrial control systems and other really important locations. The default usernames and passwords have not been changed. You go on such websites, and you can actually watch an office, you can watch a server, you can watch anything that's being guarded by a webcam, like a point-of-sale system. It's crazy.
A lot of typical home users these days are using Windows 10. Are the built-in security tools from Windows 10 good enough, or would you recommend that people look at outside antivirus or malware protection?
Well, it's always good to implement something called defense in depth, which means layering your security, whether it's the operating system, built-in security, plus some other package. I generally recommend not to use more than one anti-malware program at a time. They could actually step on each other's toes. But yeah, you have a great question, because Windows Defender Security has been really impressing a lot of cybersecurity experts out there, and a lot of people are actually saying Windows Defender Security, of course, coming with Windows 10, in most cases does the job great, where you don't necessarily need to depend on some external anti-malware product. I would recommend using at least, using one other product, but Windows Defender Security has been really, really impressive.
One of the things we haven't even talked about yet in this AAS degree in networking and cybersecurity is you're making it available to people who have graduated. Is that a common thing at FLCC?
Well, I have students from time to time who have been in industry for 15, 20 years. They come back and they come back to school and they take our program. You know what they say to me? They say, "Oh my gosh, that's how it works. Now I understand all those things that went on underneath the hood. Now I actually have a visualization. Now I have an appreciation of everything I've been doing for so long." So yes, even if you've been in industry, our program will benefit.
I use Linux Mint on my laptop at home, so I'm invulnerable to viruses, right?
Well, it's funny. You see all these commercials that Windows machines are more vulnerable than a Mac or than a Linux box, but it was, at some point in time, not worth the cyber criminals' time and effort
to
target such a small population. Nowadays, with the rise of Linux operating systems and Mac being more prevalent than it used to be in the past, we're starting to see a nice amount of malware targeted for those platforms as well.
So, I mean, I can't imagine a subject matter that makes you more employable right now than this. I mean, like you said, you're going to find a job when you come out of this.
Not only are you going to find a job, you're going to make a lot of money. But
Yeah.
money, of course, is not the most important thing for driving where you're going to be going in your career. What really excites me about this field, about networking and cybersecurity, is that every day is different. There are no 2 days that are alike. It's not like you're sitting in a cubicle and banging out code, like Office Space maybe, where some people might not like something like that. It's 24/7, 365. It's always changing. And what really drives me about networking and cybersecurity is you constantly have to reinvent yourself. If you're not constantly learning and changing and adapting, you're going to become obsolete and undesirable in a quick amount of time. So this field is as exciting and as dynamic as it gets.
I mean, it's a real cat and mouse game because the minute you write some code that blocks an attack, someone will write a new attack to go around that code. So like you said, I mean, it never ends. You're pretty much guaranteed.
And that's why students have a great job for the rest of their lives, and their kids and their grandkids as well.
The AAS degree in networking and cybersecurity available online through FLCC with a guaranteed transfer to SUNY Empire State, and a whole bunch of people out there, including us here at the radio group, who would hire you in a second when you come out with those skills. Jonathan, thanks. We appreciate it. Best of luck with the new academic year and with this great program.
My pleasure. Looking forward to talking to you again, Ted.